Samson, Isaac, Jacob and Esau, Judah, David, the kings of Israel. The Bible is full of people that God used in spite of who they are. See, this is the thing about grace. Grace is one of those things that is extended to us not after we have fixed ourselves. Grace is something that is extended to us in spite of ourselves. You look at those accountings of the people in Scripture. You look at someone like Judah. Judah was a patriarch. The tribe of Judah, upon whom Jesus was going to be in the lineage of. Judah, man, he has a terrible story with Tamar. Go look it up. It's awful. You look at, my goodness, I mean, you look at Jacob and Esau. Jacob was a jerk. I mean, he cheated his brother out of stuff. You look at Isaac, and Isaac was really kind of nobody. There was nothing great about Isaac. He was pretty mediocre. And yet you look at all of these people, and then you look at the kings of Israel, the people that openly defied and said, we're no longer going to follow the king that God has laid out. You look at all these different people, and God utilized them and used them to carry out his purposes and his mission. And he extended to them grace because of this. By faith, you remember that section in Hebrews. You look at all of these people, and all the people that are listed are people that fell way short at times, if not all the time. So God extends grace to those who shouldn't have grace extended so often. And I bring this up because this is exactly what happened to the people of Nineveh. God extended grace to them in a way that honestly they shouldn't have gotten. When you look at the horrific crimes that the people of Assyria, the people of Nineveh were doing back then, it's not like these were semi-good. No, these people destroyed. They ransacked and they razed and they turned things into awful. I mean, if you look at some of the things that happen later on down the road, and you look at how they conquered Israel and they took down Samaria, they did it in some pretty awful ways. And as a matter of fact, then they went and they created the Samaritan race. You remember Jesus and the Samaritan woman? That all came about because of Assyria. They are the ones that created these situations because, honestly, they were more interested in domination and destruction than they were about preservation and honoring their captives. They weren't interested in that. They were more interested in showing how powerful they were. So these were not people that were nice. These were not people that worshiped God or followed God. They followed other gods, fake gods. They put gods up on things like Asherah poles and other things. They picked up worship habits of other nations and became really a polytheistic, multiple god type country. So these are not nice people. And in our idea and our scale of nice and not nice, we always like to think that good, if your good outweighs your bad, then maybe you're not as bad of a person. But we have to remember that in God's eyes, if you're even a little bit not nice, you're all bad. No one is good, not one. So all of us need grace, and the people of Nineveh especially needed grace. And so we know that after 40 days, God relented and he did not bring on destruction. But this is where it's very interesting because chapter 4, verse 1. But to Jonah, this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. Jonah, who himself experienced grace, couldn't give grace to people he detested. And we know that he despised them because of what he says next. He prayed to the Lord, "Isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still at home? This is what I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you were a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. And now, Lord, take my life, for it's better for me to die than to live." That's how much Jonah hated the Ninevites. He knew God was going to save him, and he didn't want them to be saved. We kind of have people like that in our lives sometimes, people that we don't necessarily want good things to happen to. We become like Jonah. We become hardened of heart. We become looking at it and saying, these people don't extend grace, forgetting the very grace that was extended to us. And this is one of the huge lessons of Jonah, is recognizing and seeing Jonah within ourselves. Recognizing and seeing that Jonah is us. We are him. Bad grammar all around. But regardless, we need to understand that we have a hard time extending grace. And so God's going to speak a little bit more to Jonah on that tomorrow.